The Skyvale chamber hummed with the low, constant tone of resonance. Suspended in the highest, cleanest air of Venus, its white stone floors and glass walls offered a panoramic view of the storm layer, boiling miles below. Light, filtered and pure, filled the space, reflecting off a central hololith. On its surface, a grainy image flickered, the last recoverable data from a damaged Accord recon drone lost in the drift. Primarch Ian Campbell stood motionless, his form a severe silhouette against the churning clouds. Beside him, Admiral Armin Richter leaned forward, his scarred knuckles white on the console's edge. He studied the freeze frame of a man's face, weathered and storm-battered.
Recognition confirmed.
Richter clipped, his voice rough as unpolished steel.
Cormac V, still alive.
Vel Vexen, the voice of the Accord, traced a finger over the floating image, her smile a thin, calculating line.
He doesn't look like a ghost.
Ghosts don't shoot back.
Richter grunted. Campbell's gaze remained fixed on the churning atmosphere outside. He did not need to see the image again. The name was enough, a discordant note from a mission that was supposed to have ended. He spoke without turning, his voice as clean and cold as the air in the room.
We have assets already in proximity. Their drift tech signatures are cloaked. We can have them on him within a cycle.
Richter straightened, a flicker of caution in his eyes.
Primarch, committing assets of that caliber is a significant risk. We have no confirmation of his allegiances. He could be Nullwake. He could be Whisper-clade. If we move now and fail...
Then we send the living to deal with him.
Campbell stated, finally turning from the window. His eyes were devoid of heat.
He is a loose thread from the Red Line Protocol. He cannot be allowed to unravel.
Vexen's smile tightened. She saw the opportunity, the political capital of delivering a ghost back to the Accord in chains.
And when they fail?
Campbell met her gaze, holding it until she looked away. He turned back to the storms, a vast, violent canvas of planetary memory.
Then the drift will finish what we started.
He made a subtle gesture with one hand. On the console, Richter's fingers moved, inputting a string of commands. A silent activation order pulsed out from the Skyvale, a ghost signal descending into the chaos below.
The file,
Campbell said, his voice a final command.
Erase it. All of it.
Richter complied. The image of Cormac V vanished. The hololith blinked, displaying a single stark line of text against the blue glow. File purged. Access revoked. The screen went dark, reflecting only the three figures and the silent, swirling storms beyond the glass. The hum of the chamber seemed to deepen, filling a space that was now emptier than before.
The Accord says they brought order to the skies, built the high cities, tamed the drift. What they don't say is how much blood it cost. We're not heroes, not rebels, just a crew of ghosts in a ship they can't trace.
No map, no light, just a fist and flame. I don't chase victory, I drag it by name. Climb the ranks, don't stop, don't fall. Every scar's a step, every step's a call. When the sky breaks loose and the fire line bends, I break again.
You can dodge the storms, you can silence the ghosts, but there is always blood in the drift.
The groaning of stressed metal was the first welcome. Cormac Vey stood on the bridge of Storm Chaser, his boots planted on the deck plating as if gravity owed him an explanation. Outside the forward viewport, the Driftland station of Gleam Forge resolved from a smear of rust and rogue light into a coherent structure. It was repurposed industrial platforms and jury-rigged habitat modules, all clinging together in the venomous skies of Venus. Storm Chaser, scarred and stubborn as its captain, settled into the docking cradle with a final shuddering hiss of its maneuvering thrusters. Magnetic clamps engaged with a heavy clang that vibrated through Cormac's bones.
Home sweet hell.
Cormac said he wasn't from the drift. He was High City born, but after years on the run, years on the ship, any hellhole could be considered home for a day or two.
Docking sequence complete.
Vesna's voice announced, smooth and measured, a chilling counterpoint to the station's chaotic frequency. The ship's AI was a ghost in its wires, a fragmented oracle that ran their lives.
Captain, I am flagging elevated surveillance pings in the local node met. Accord ghost markers. Low level, but present.
Cormac's fingers twitched near the repeater pistol holstered on his hip, a habit born from years of calculating risk.
Acknowledged, Vesna. Keep them painted.
He turned from the viewport, his steel-gray eyes sweeping over the bridge. Wraith stood near the exit, her muscular frame coiled and ready, watching the docking arm connect. Spectre was a statue of chrome and pallid flesh in the ops pit as he spun through schematics in microbursts. From the engine room below, Cormac could feel the familiar heavy tread of Breck making his final checks. The ramp lowered. The station's atmosphere bled in, a miasma of ozone, superheated metal, and something acrid that might have been blood. Cormac took it in without a change in expression. He was a man made of weathered granite and bad decisions, and this place was just another entry in the log.
Let's move,
he said, his voice like smoked glass. They stepped out onto a wide platform slick with grime. The crew fell into formation around him, a practiced constellation of violence. Wraith was at his right, her pale gray-green eyes already dissecting the crowd, her hands never far from the dual daggers at her hips. Spectre drifted to his left, a fragmented shadow whose cybernetic arm hummed with latent function. Feral dropped down from an upper gantry where she had been watching, landing silently on bare feet. Her copper-red dreadlocks threaded with wires swung with the movement, and her amber eyes were wide, taking in everything at once. Breck brought up the rear, a mountain of quiet loyalty in a stained thermoreg rig, his heavy breaker club resting on one augmented shoulder. Gleam Forge was a maelstrom of desperate commerce. Neon glyphs flickered over stalls, selling everything from scavenged ship parts to falsified resonance IDs. The air was thick with the shouts of vendors, the shriek of grinding metal, and a low, discordant hum from the station's overburdened power core. It was a culture built on beautiful noise and broken songs. They hadn't gone 20 meters when the station's native cruelty put on a show. Two men built like bulkhead doors held a third down on the graded floor. A vendor with chipped teeth and a sonic spanner was methodically disassembling the man's cybernetic legs, ignoring his screams. A payment dispute settled by market rules. Feral's whole body went taut. A low hum started in her throat, a sound of instinct fighting its leash. Beside Cormac, Wraith shifted her weight, the plates of her stealth suit whispering. Her gaze was cold, assessing. She was a weapon, and this place was a target-rich environment. Spectre's eye dilated as he ran facial recognition on the crowd, logging threats, his expression unreadable. Cormac didn't break stride. He felt the tension ripple through his crew, a discordant note in their operational harmony. His control was the only thing holding them together.
Eyes forward. If this place doesn't blink, neither do we.
They moved deeper into the market's main artery. Feral and Breck peeled off, taking to a mesh walkway overhead, a higher vantage point for cover. Breck moved with a heavy, deliberate gait, his presence a comfort. Feral was a phantom, her light steps making no sound. Down in the throng, Cormac led Wraith and Spectre through the human static. A wild-eyed preacher stood on a crate of busted tech, his voice amplified by a cracked speaker.
What you forget, the Drift remembers!
Cormac ignored him. His focus was on the objective, a backroom deal at a bar called The Coil for a resonance tuner, a piece of tech they needed to keep Storm Chaser's null-wave core from singing itself into oblivion. It should be a clean transaction. Simple. But Cormac knew better. Nothing in the Driftlands was ever that easy. Up above, Feral stopped. She leaned over the railing, her gaze distant. Breck paused beside her, his hand resting on his club. Through his comm, her voice was a lyrical fragment, jagged and unnerving.
Captain, the Twitch dances loud here.
The Twitch, a name for her intuition, the sixth sense that had kept her alive in the lowest tiers of the Drift.
This place, it sings of betrayal.
Stay sharp, Feral.
Cormac sent back, his own unease solidifying. He glanced at Spectre. The cyborg had frozen, his attention locked on a figure across the crowded corridor. It was a woman, her face a roadmap of scars, one eye a milky orb. She wore the patched, hard-worn gear of a Driftlander, but Spectre saw the ghost beneath. He saw the posture, the way she scanned the crowd, the muscle memory of an Accord Black Ops uniform she no longer wore. She was from his past, a life he'd tried to erase. Her eyes met his, and a flicker of recognition, cold and sharp, passed between them. Spectre's organic hand clenched into a fist. He said nothing. The secret simmered behind his augmented eye. A moment later, Breck's deep voice rumbled in their comms, pulling him back to the present.
Got a visual on the target location. The Coil. Backroom access confirmed. They're ready for us.
The crew regrouped outside the bar. The Coil's entrance was framed in humming glyph wire fencing, with black, blood-repellent foam still crusted and cracked around the doorway. The place felt like a scar.
Clean deal, no heroics.
Cormac stated, his gaze meeting each of theirs in turn. He was reinforcing the plan, but also himself. Something was off. He could feel it in the air's oppressive weight, in the wrong-key hum of the station. Feral ran a clawed finger along the wall beside the door, her touch light as a breath. One of the carved glyphs, an old security ward, pulsed with a faint residual light, responding to her touch. It wasn't active. It was just an echo, a memory of being watched.
When is it not?
Wraith's voice was gravel-edged, her skepticism a constant whetting stone. She was watching Cormac, judging his resolve. Her loyalty was a choice, renewed with every command he gave. Spectre remained silent, his face a mask of chrome and human trauma. His breathing was tight. The woman was gone, swallowed by the crowd, but her presence lingered like a thermal shadow.
We walk in like it's clean,
Cormac said, his voice dropping lower, cutting through the tension.
Guns quiet, instincts loud.
He pushed through the door. The inside of the Coil was a pocket of manufactured calm in the station storm. Built inside a salvaged hangar, the space was lit by the dim, moody glow of old resonance strips lining the curved ceiling. The air smelled of stale alcohol, copper, and ozone. Velvexine sang from a jukebox in the corner, the sound tinny and worn.
Just more Accord propaganda, pretending to be music.
Cormac said, disgust creeping across his face before he could catch it. A bartender with arms like corroded pistons wiped down the bar with a rag. His movements slow and deliberate. He didn't look up as they entered, but a slight nod of his head directed them toward a door at the back. He didn't speak. The entire room was a statement. Cormac scanned the space, his tactical mind absorbing the layout, the exits, the angles of fire. As his eyes passed over the area behind the bar, he saw it. Faint, almost erased, but still there, was a ghost image of an Accord-sanctioned glyph. It had been scrubbed, but its harmonic signature bled through like an old wound. It wasn't a trap, it was a setup, an official one. The music faded to a dull thrum. He had walked them right into the Accord's embrace. In that frozen moment, he faced the choice. Abort, fight their way out, and run. Or walk into the back room and play the hand he'd been dealt. Betrayal wasn't just a song Farrell heard. It was the music of the whole damn mission. He looked at Wraith, then Spectre. He didn't need to look at Farrell or Breck. He knew they would follow. His command was their anchor. Slowly, deliberately, Cormac raised a hand. A subtle gesture. They would proceed with the deal. He met the bartender's dead gaze, held it for a beat, and then gave a short, sharp nod toward the back room. The bartender's lip curled in what might have been a smile. Cormac turned and walked toward the door. The crew fell in behind him, their steps silent, their own fears and suspicions now secondary to his decision. The door slid shut behind them, the click of the lock as final as a closing casket, and the quiet dread of the room swallowed them whole.
Hey.